Most people walk through blind to their potential because they settle. They settle for average, for good enough, for whatever makes them feel safe. But there's a small group, a different breed, that refuses to lower the bar. That group sets the standard. That group becomes the blueprint. That group looks in the mirror and says, this is the standard. I am the standard. You don't get to wake up one morning and suddenly become great. 2, it's built through sweat, pain, and choosing the hard path every damn day. While the world looks for shortcuts, the standard setter goes the long route. When others cut corners, they sharpen edges. When people quit, they double down. They don't wait for motivation. They don't ask for permission. They show up when it's dark, when no one claps. They grind in silence and become undeniable. Your standard is revealed not when things go right, but when everything is falling apart. That's when your real discipline, your real identity, your real standard shows up. Anybody can smile when life's easy, but when you're bleeding inside, when your legs won't move, when your mind is screaming to stop, and you keep going, that's the moment you're in your place. There's a difference between wanting greatness and being committed to it. Wanting is weak. Commitment is ruthless. People with a standard don't negotiate with their mind. They don't care how they feel. They don't look for comfort. They look for battle. Every day is war. And every day, they choose to be the hardest worker in the room. If you want to separate yourself, raise your standard. Stop acting like time is unlimited. Stop chasing approval. Stop blaming your circumstances. Own everything. Own the grind. Own the suffering. Own the responsibility to rise. Because once you decide this is the standard, everything in your life will begin to change. Walk different. Walk different. Move different. And people will notice. Not because you said something, but because you became something. This life is not about fitting in. It's about standing out. But to stand out, you must first stand alone. Standards are forged in solitude, in discipline, in unrelenting work ethic. The world needs fewer talkers and more standard bearers. If you're tired of living like everyone else, then stop moving like everyone else. Set the pace. Break the mold. Be the reason someone else decides to level up. Don't tell me what you're going to do. Show me. Show me with your actions, with your pain tolerance, with how much pressure you can take without breaking. Show me who you are when nobody is watching. 2, that's where the standard lives, in the unseen moments, in the uncelebrated hours, in the grind nobody claps for. This is the standard. If it doesn't demand all of you, 2, it's beneath you. Raise the bar. Then raise it again. And don't ever let it drop. Average is a disease. Refuse to settle. The world has conditioned you to believe that average is acceptable. That's showing up, putting in minimum effort, and doing just enough to get by is enough. It's not. That mindset is a disease. Quiet, contagious, and deadly. It spreads through your habits, your language, your thoughts, and eventually your entire identity. When you accept average, you're saying, this is all I am. And you hand over your potential to fear, doubt, and laziness. Average doesn't just rob you of greatness. It numbs you to the pain of never becoming what you were capable of. It's not a plateau. It's a grave you dig for yourself while the world keeps spinning. Settling becomes easier every time you choose the soft option. You hit snooze instead of getting up early. You skip the gym because your body aches. You let your goals slide because no one's watching. And with each excuse, you're feeding that disease. You're reinforcing the identity of someone who chooses comfort over growth. That's not just weakness. That's self-sabotage. And if you don't fight back, you'll start calling it balance, self-care, or worse, just life. The truth is, life doesn't care about your justifications. 2, you either rise above average or you decay in irrelevance. The dangerous part about being average is how normal it feels. It doesn't slap you in the face. It whispers. It sneaks in through your routines, your friends, and your mindset. You look around and say, well, everyone else is doing it like this. And suddenly your standard drops without you even realizing it. But just because mediocrity is common doesn't mean it's right. Just because others are okay being average doesn't mean you should be. You weren't built for the middle. You weren't made to blend in. You were born to break the damn mold. Every time you tolerate average behavior from yourself, you send a message to your mind and body. This is acceptable. But deep down, something inside you knows the truth. You feel it when you waste time. You hear it when you make excuses. That quiet voice inside you, the one you try to ignore, is your potential screaming for more. And that voice won't go away until you rise. until you reject every lazy compromise, every soft habit, and every comfort that numbs your edge. You cannot live a powerful life with a weak standard. Being below your potential should disgust you. It should burn. The idea that you could live your whole life, never tapping into your full strength, never discovering how far you can awake at night, but instead, most people sedate themselves with comfort. They scroll. They snack. They talk about what they could do, but never take the steps to do it. That's the trap of average. It keeps you busy with nothing. And by the time you realize what you've lost, it's too late. That's why the battle must begin now. You don't escape average by waiting. You break it by waging war against it. Refusing to settle isn't a slogan. It's a lifestyle. It's waking up every day and doing the hard things on purpose. It's turning away from the crowd and walking a lonely path, because greatness is never crowded. It's holding yourself to a higher code when no one else does. You don't need applause. You don't need permission. You need hunger. You need discipline. You need to look at yourself in the mirror and say, I will not be like them. I will not settle. This is not my limit. I am the standard. Average is a disease. And you are the cure. Greatness is earned through daily discipline. There's a harsh truth most people avoid. Greatness is not a one-time act. It's not something you stumble into. It's not given. Greatness is earned, and the currency is daily discipline. Not weekly motivation. Not occasional inspiration. Daily discipline. That means showing up when you don't feel like it. That means doing the work when nobody is watching. That means punching the clock on your goals every single day, regardless of pain, exhaustion, or doubt. The world doesn't reward potential. It rewards those who are consistent enough to outwork excuses, distractions, and weakness. Discipline is not about talent. It's not about resources. 2, it's about doing what needs to be done, especially when you don't want to. It's about becoming so reliable that your results become inevitable. You want to know who's going to win in the long run. It's the one who shows up when it's boring, when it's hard, when it's inconvenient. The one who doesn't need a crowd to push them or a coach yelling in their face. The one who can self-regulate, self-motivate, and self-destruct every weakness that tries to creep in. That's what discipline does. It makes you dangerous. You don't build muscle by lifting once a week. You don't build mental toughness by doing hard things once in a while. And you sure as hell don't build a legacy by being consistent only when it feels good. Discipline is what turns action into identity. You don't just act disciplined, you become disciplined. It becomes part of you. You stop needing to decide whether you'll do the work. You already know. You stop negotiating. You start executing. And that shift is what separates the elite from the average. They operate off discipline, not emotion. Most people confuse motivation with discipline. Motivation is that high you feel when a video hypes you up, when your emotions are fired up, when your dreams seem possible. But that high fades fast. And when it does, you're left with the real test, your habits, your structure, your willpower. That's where discipline lies. It kicks in when motivation taps out. It says, I don't care how you feel. We've got work to do. Discipline doesn't care about your comfort. It's married to your commitment. And if you want to build something real, something unshakable, you better start treating discipline like oxygen. The beauty of discipline is that it makes you trustworthy to yourself. Every day you follow through on what you said you do, you build self-respect. Every rep, every run, every early wake, up call, it all stacks up. You don't need validation from the outside when you know you've done the work. And guess what? When you keep stacking those wins, they turn into confidence. Not the fake kind. Not the loud kind. The kind that doesn't need to speak because it shows. That's earned. That's what discipline delivers. Self-mastery brick by brick. Greatness is built behind closed doors. In early mornings. In late nights. In the lonely hours where it's just you versus you. Every day you skip the grind, someone else gets ahead. Every time you break your word to yourself, you weaken your own standard. But every day you show up, every time you execute when you don't feel like it, you widen the gap. You separate yourself. That's how you win. But by discipline, relentless, unbreakable discipline, every single day. Set the standard when no one is watching. The real measure of who you are is not found in the spotlight. It's found in the shadows. When no one is watching, when no one is clapping, and when the only voice you hear is your own, that's when your standard is truly exposed. Anybody can post a highlight. Anybody can flex results when the camera is on. But when the room is silent, when the gym is empty, when you're the only one awake grinding while the world sleeps, that's where greatness is earned. Because it's easy to perform when people are watching. But if you want to be great, you have to perform when no one cares. You've got to understand something. You're not building your legacy on game day. You're building it in the dark. You're crafting in the unseen, unrewarded hours. The early mornings when your legs are sore. The late nights when your mind is screaming for rest. The reps that don't get counted. The sets that don't get posted. The sacrifices no one claps for. That's where the standard is set. And it's not about anyone else. It's about you versus the old you. It's about proving to yourself that you're no longer the type to fold when comfort shows up. People think discipline is about showing others what you can do. That's surface. True discipline is silent. It doesn't look for validation. It doesn't need attention. It's a private war you fight within yourself. That's where standards are either enforced or erased. If you can't be trusted to work when there's no reward, no recognition, no push, then you don't really have a standard. You have a performance. And performance fades when the audience disappears. But standards, they stay locked in regardless of the stage. You want to separate yourself. Stop worrying about who's watching. Start locking in when it's just you. Wake up before the world. Run when no one knows you're running. Study when everyone else is relaxing. Do the damn work when it's quiet. Because that's the difference. That's the divide between those who pretend and those who are. The standard you live by in private will eventually bleed everything you do in public. And if you want the world to respect your name, you better respect the work you do behind closed doors. There's a certain kind of pride that only comes from this level of integrity. When you've held the line for weeks, months, years, without applause, without recognition, you start to develop a mindset that's lethal. You start to move differently. People can feel it when you walk into the room. They don't know why, but they sense it. That's the weight of real work. That's the energy of a person who's earned everything they have. And that can't be faked. That can't be copied. That's the power of a standard set in solitude. You don't need to tell people what you're doing. Let your presence speak. Let your results talk. Let your consistency be louder than your words. But to get there, you've got to be relentless when no one's around. You've got to wake up early and grind without praise. You've got to go the extra mile with zero recognition. Because every time you do that, you're reinforcing the identity of someone who doesn't need permission to be great. You're telling the world, I am the standard. Not with your mouth, but with your actions. Zane, refuse to negotiate with your more mind is a liar. It will try to talk you out of everything that's hard, everything that hurts, everything that demands effort. It will sell you comfort dressed as logic. You're tired. You need rest. You've done enough. But if you listen to that voice, if you negotiate with it even once, it gets louder. And before you know it, that voice is driving the car. You're just the passenger. You don't rise by listening to that weakness. You rise by silencing it. You rise by refusing to negotiate with your own mind. Every time you make a deal with your excuses, you lower your standard. Every time you give into just this once, you reinforce the identity of someone who folds under pressure. That's not who you want to be. You build grit by locking in. That alarm goes off at 40:30. Get up. Your legs are sore? Show up anyway. You feel like quitting? Push harder. Because the more you deny your mind the power to choose comfort, the stronger you become. Discipline is built through denial, not discussion. The greatest enemy you'll ever face isn't out there. It's in here. It's that part of you that knows how to manipulate, rationalize, and talk you into staying soft. It knows your weaknesses because it lives inside you. It knows exactly what to say to make you back off. You don't even acknowledge. You execute. You do what needs to be done with zero emotion. Like a machine. Like a warrior. Like someone who has burned the exit plan and is committed to the mission. This isn't about being cold. This is about being committed. There's a difference. You're not heartless. You're just focused. You're not ignoring pain. You're conquering it. You're not avoiding feelings. You're overriding them because your goal demands more than emotion can deliver. You're not here to feel good. You're here to get better. That mindset changes everything. You stop asking, how do I feel today? And you start asking, what needs to be done today? That's the mindset of someone who's already decided, no matter what, the job gets done. You can't afford to be soft with yourself. The world will already throw enough obstacles in your path. You don't need to become one of them. When your mind starts whispering weakness, you need to shout back with action. That's how you kill negotiation. You draw in discipline. You don't think, you move. You don't pause, you act. Because hesitation is the breeding ground of regret. And every time you hesitate, you open the door for excuses to take over. Close that door while it's shut. Get ruthless about your mission. The moment you stop negotiating with your mind, you start gaining control over your life. You take the power back. You stop being at the mercy of moods and start operating off principles. You become unshakable because you no longer depend on feeling ready. You just show up. You just execute. That's how you build real confidence, not by waiting to feel strong, but by doing the hard thing, even when you feel weak. That's the real flex. That's the real standard. And it all starts the moment you decide, I don't negotiate with weakness. I destroy it. Pressure reveals the truth. Pressure is the ultimate lie detector. It strips away your excuses, exposes your weaknesses, and forces the real version of you to come out. Not the version you post. Not the one you talk about when you're hyped up. The real one. The one that shows up when life squeezes you, when your plans collapse, when your strength fades. That's who you truly are. Pressure doesn't lie. It doesn't care about what you say you can do. It reveals what you've actually prepared for. And most people crumble, quit, or hide because they've built their confidence on comfort, not on capacity. You think you're tough because you can grind when it's sunny, when the energy is high, when the crowd is cheering. That's not toughness. That's convenience. That's performance. Real toughness is what shows up when you're broken. When the weight is heavy, when the clock is ticking and your mind is screaming for relief. Pressure doesn't allow you to fake it. You either have it or you don't. And if you don't, you get exposed. That's why pressure is a gift. It doesn't just test you. It teaches you. It shows you exactly where your cracks are so you can start sealing them with real effort. When everything's easy, everybody looks solid. When life is smooth, people smile big and talk about success. But when pressure kicks in, when the job is on the line, when your back's against the wall, when your body is breaking and your heart is doubting, you see who's real. You see who put in the reps, who built the calluses, who trained their mind to operate under stress. You see who built themselves for war. Pressure is the battlefield where talkers disappear and warriors rise. It's the space burned away and strength is carved into your soul. Pressure is necessary if you want to level up. Stop running from it. 2, stop treating it like a punishment. Pressure is the gym for your character. It's how you build mental endurance. It's how you sharpen focus, harden resolve, and develop resilience that doesn't bend when life punches you in the throat. If you avoid pressure, you avoid growth. You avoid your own evolution, too. Because the only way to find out who you are is to get uncomfortable enough to uncover it. You have to be willing to be broken in order to be rebuilt stronger. The moment you start embracing pressure instead of fearing it, your life changes. You stop playing defense and start moving on offense. You start welcoming hard situations because you understand that pressure is how champions are made. It's how steel is forged. You don't become unbreakable by hiding in comfort zones. You become unbreakable by running straight into the fire again and again. Until the fire no longer burns you, it builds you. That's what pressure does. It doesn't just reveal the truth. It creates a new one. If you're willing to stay in the fight. People spend their lives trying to avoid pressure, but pressure is the only thing that guarantees growth. You won't know your limits until they're tested. You won't discover your strength until you're forced to use it. Pressure pulls greatness out of you by suffocating your excuses and demanding your best. So the next time pressure shows up, don't flinch. Don't panic. Lean into it. Because the truth about who you are and what you're made of doesn't show up in comfort. It rises in chaos. And pressure is the gatekeeper to your next level.